So they're in the middle of filming, and well, I'm getting set up, and I've got one camera, and it's basically when they're filming, it's kind of quiet on set, so you can't actually do anything. So say when they shouted like quiet on set, you had to sit there for ages until they'd done their intro or outro. But whilst they were doing it, they started to hear these noises. So Trisha and Stuart, the host and co-host, shouting me. Now I'll be able to show you that piece of footage later on. And we run through, and we get onto we get to this corridor here where they're hearing the banging.
I take the first of it though.
Nobody down that hall.
Can you hear me?
So that's just a camera, I know you're down its own.
So what's that?
Oh, fine.
James, can we stop you there? That's all.
So Lee then stops us there because they fear that someone's literally broken in. You and Dan went and checked.
There's nothing there.
Not them. It's quite good you're here actually.
Wasn't a nice place to go down.
This next... It happens very, very quickly.
See the shadow moving
I was going to say that
on the
as
top, right, in the top right, just where that
Look
black
there.
bit is now.
Sorry,
I can't know what my face.
So you'll see a shadow kind of at the top. See there, wee black bit dropping out.
Oh, I see that.
Yep, and now
Ah,
it's
yeah.
drop.
What's this?
Ah.
Oh, I just dropped it.
See it?
That's almost as if it's placed.
Good
Aye.
eyes,
No, look.
good eyes.
But
First
all
thing
this
I've ever
activity.
There's
There's
definitely
activity
something
there.
on the-
So all that stuff there was the dust and stuff like that.
Okay.
I know a lot of people and a lot, again,
I
as
know
I says,
that you get the dust
we
and
really,
that and midges
as I
and
says, we recreated this experiment. So because when we do anything like this, we try to think the way you think. Oh, did you try this? And what about this? And what about that? So we did this.
Right, that's the set of room 4 for about 10 minutes. Douglas, can you tell us what you were feeling when you were in first the main room and then the bathroom?
The main room, it took a wee while for me to tune in. I had went into it along with one of the other sensitives early on, and I had felt the presence of a woman right away. But I had withdrawn from the room, went back to the other room, and when I returned to room 4, I picked up again on, I believe, which was the same female entity. And it was quite a nice feeling. It was actually, I was quite enjoying. But it was kind of coming and going. You know, it would be there and then going. I don't know if it was me or whether it was the entity that wasn't communicating properly. But, you know, it went on a wee bit, and as I say, I was quite enjoying it. And then you asked me to come into the bathroom to see what I felt in there. And as soon as I went in the door, I smelled smoke at first. I don't know what the smoke had to do with it, but I smelled smoke at first. And then I started choking for breath. I was gasping for breath. I could not breathe at all. I took pains in my chest. I felt as if I was dying. The fear was horrendous. I was actually really, really frightened because I felt as if it was a kind of a death scene that I was witnessing. You know, sort of thing. Eventually, after a wee while, I had to withdraw from it because I was actually feeling quite ill. You know, I was kind of glad to get it anyway. But I feel there was a young male that was being threatened there, whatever it was, and I feel he was being drowned or murdered in some way. There was definitely something. I don't know if it was anything to do with the stories that are about here, but that's what I felt there. That something untoward had happened in that bathroom. And basically that's it. I left it that and came down the stair to kind of recover a wee bit because physically I wasn't feeling too well after. That's it.
Thank you, Diggy. So it's about 10 minutes since we left room 4, and yeah, it was interesting. I was in the bathroom and I was sat down in one of the chairs in the corner, and I could smell like cinnamon. and then a pressure built over from the left hand side of my head all the way over to the right, and then it carried on down onto my shoulders, and it felt like I was being almost pushed down in the chair, and that lasted the whole time I was in there. And as the pressure was building, it felt, the only description I can give you is it felt like when I go scuba diving and I've gone down a fair depth, 20-30 metres, and it's like the pressure of the water on your face. Yeah, nothing much else from that, but I do know that it's taken me a few minutes to shift the feeling off after leaving that room there. And well, it's very unlike me. I usually feel nothing at all, nothing at all. So, very interesting.
Yeah.
That's it. Sandra, you've had a couple of experiences tonight. Would you like to tell us what happened, please?
Yeah. We were sitting down here and we were getting taps when we were in response, and the next thing I felt as if something had touched my neck, and then I went all cold down the one side. So I says to James and that, and they were checking because we could hear noises. So they went through the doors, and they'd heard noises for there. So it's really been quite an eventful night for me. Since when you're not expecting it.
Well, thank you very much for that,
Okay,
Sandra. Thank
not a problem. Okay, right, thanks.
John, Susan, it's not the first time you've been to a Fellowship of the Thistle and Glasgow Paranormal Investigator charity do, but did you experience anything out of the ordinary tonight, or did you have any feelings you'd like to document?
Just in room 4 upstairs, felt a presence in the bathroom, and I just had to move away through the door because it was quite scary at one point.
And once she moved away from the door, I was left beside the door, and I just got more and more uncomfortable feeling, so I ended up having to move away as well. I would never went in.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd just like to document what happened to me, well, to me, and I think it was about 8 hours in room 2. So we were there and we were getting some action on the K2 meter. But I suppose what was most interesting was the door lock. I was the last one in the room and I was stood in front of the door, but I was not leaning on the door. Now, when we'd finished our seance, for the lack of a better word, in that room, we turned to open the door, and lo and behold, the door was locked. A big brass slidey lock had gone over. Now, I guarantee you it wasn't locked when we went in, and I certainly didn't lock it. But when we tried it as well, there was no way of physically sliding a bolt without making a noise, and you had to give it a little jiggle as well to lock it because the locking clasp was loose on the door frame side. So I've been on a few of these charity tasters, so to speak, but I've never had anything like that happen before. So it's pretty strange, you go in a door and then it's locked when you try and go out of it. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that. Thanks.
Hi Laura, would you like to tell us what you experienced tonight at the Coylet Inn?
Well, on a walk round with the GPI, we were in room 2, and the room was incredibly cold when you went in. Temperature well kind of regulated, and then we found really cold spots in the main bedroom next to the bathroom, wasn't it? Other issue was down here doing EVP during the session. We heard footsteps in the other dining room. Went to investigate. I'm standing in the back doorway, and I go hello. And an EVP wasn't heard at the time, comes back clear as day, I'm up here. So we think he wants us to investigate a bit further up there. But ideally that's it, it was only just picked up on the EVP on the one or two other emotions upstairs, but again they're personal experiences, nothing that is concrete, particularly in their face, and quite an overwhelming emotional feeling in room 1. That's room 1, isn't it? Yes, room 1.
That's right,
So,
aye.
yeah, a bit emotional in there. But other than that, yeah, quite a nice feeling. Wasn't scared much.
So would you like to come back maybe and research a wee bit more into the place?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Every night's different. Every night's always different.
That's great. Thank you very much for that,
No,
Laura.
thank you for having us.
I'm here with Andrew, Wilma and Fiona, the staff members here at the Coylet Inn. You know, obviously you three have spent a lot more time here than we have in this short evening. And I was wondering perhaps if any of you have had any experiences while you've been working around the place.
It's not so much experiences as such, but the back corridor that we use for taking like food out or where we make the teas and coffees, there's definitely
Kind of feeling
an uneasy feeling, I would say.
I've walked through and it's like I've went to Trippy or something and there's nothing there. As if something's coming the road. But that's about it.
For me, I used to work here, it'd be what, 4 or 5 years ago. There's been nothing recently, but I hated doing housekeeping in room 2. There was always a feeling there was something watching you. And it was before I'd heard any of the stories, I just assumed it was other staff members taking the piss, basically. But I refused to go back in that room, and there was one of my mum's friends who is supposedly quite sensitive to stuff like that, and she was meant to come in for a meal. She was in here about 5 minutes and had to leave because she was like really, really ill just from the place. She'd been fine earlier that day, but there's been nothing recently for me.
And the only other thing is I feel uneasy through in the far restaurant when it's closing down time. That's just the 2 areas where I feel uneasy. But apart from that, there's not really any experiences as such.
Well, thank you very much for your time there. Appreciate it.
Yeah.